Hello, my name is Richard Klass. I'm your moderator today for the Strategic Planning Session SWOT Analysis 1.1. This is the second in a series of audiovisual presentations that introduce you to SWOT analysis, which is one of the most widely used tools for strategic and business planning and documenting an organization's operating environment. The prior presentation, SWOT 1.0, that I hope you reviewed, covered how to use the SWOT analysis correctly, how to identify mistakes in SWOT statement development, and how to best articulate SWOT statements so they make sense. Participants in SWOT development exercises will often enumerate many attributes that are not relevant to strategic planning. The task of honing in on the important SWOT statements may be particularly challenging when specific attributes are important to operational efficiency or members of top management. A high degree of importance does not justify in and of itself inclusion in your environmental assessment. The purpose of this session is to advance your understanding of the SWOT methodology by giving you filters to eliminate considerations that are not highly supportive of your environmental assessment efforts. The session starts out by defining the concept of key success factors. This concept is important because it is sometimes used as a standard for including or excluding an attribute proposed as an internal strength or weakness. The remainder of the presentation includes an in-depth discussion of developing and using other screening tools for SWOT statement inclusion or exclusion. These tools are based upon using perceptions of competitive positions and potential impact on entity operations and success. The need for a SWOT statement screening methodology is often highlighted when strategic planning participants discuss the organization's weaknesses. Some management teams can't help themselves from being overly critical of their own enterprise. Consequently, every potential shortcoming is often documented. Specified weaknesses may be essential to address, but they may have no relevance to strategy development. I often point out to executive teams that it only takes good management to fix internal weaknesses, and they can be addressed outside of the strategic planning process. It is important to note that filters do not require hard evidence for including or excluding particular SWOT statements in an analysis. As we move through this presentation, you will come to understand a consensus of executive opinion is acceptable. This is because many SWOT statements are not subject to quickly finding corroborating evidence, and in-depth research efforts are not required at the beginning stages of strategy development. This is not to say that fact-based observations are not better. If, for example, financial benchmark data is readily available for your industry, it is certainly more accurate than executive opinion. Let's start out with screening statements that focus on internal strengths offered up by participants of a strategic planning exercise. The filtering mechanism is comparing the organization's strength against the perceived position of competition or similar organizations. As an example, let's assume that brand quality is opined as a strength. If this is believed a true statement by most management team members when comparing this attribute against competition's brands, then this attribute would remain as part of the SWOT assessment. Conversely, if the consensus of opinion is that the entity's brand quality is not stronger than the competition or similar enterprises, then the attribute would no longer be considered a strength. Let's now focus on filter number 2, related to internal weaknesses. You can use the exact same methodology where you compare your entity's situation to the position of competition or similar organizations. Let's suppose your organization's manufacturing efficiency is noted as a weakness. After discussion and agreement amongst company executives, manufacturing efficiency is deemed really worse than the competition benchmark. Then the attribute would remain part of the SWOT assessment. On the other hand, if a perceived weakness such as employee morale is determined at the same level as, or maybe even better than, at similar organizations, then this attribute would come off the SWOT list of weaknesses. Before moving on to the next screening options, you need to understand the concept of key success factors as they pertain to strategic planning. A key success factor is defined as the 3 to 5 elements that make an organization successful. In strategic planning jargon, it is sometimes referred to as a KSF. A few quick examples demonstrate the concept. Consider a real estate developer that owns prime, undeveloped oceanfront property in South Beach, Florida. That developer has a very high chance of success regardless of other business-related variables. Next, consider a consulting firm where the principals know very well the key decision makers in many large companies that often contract with outside parties for assistance with major business decisions. A firm with these kinds of contacts should do very well regardless of other extenuating influences. Lastly, a hospital that has on its medical staff high-admitting physicians that are intensely loyal to the organization should do better than its competitors in spite of many other impacting environmental factors. Given this definition, key success factors are sometimes used to screen in or out attributes noted as internal strengths or weaknesses. This is an aggressive option since most attributes are screened out. Therefore, it is not often used by facilitators of SWOT analysis exercises. Yet, it is important for you to have the methodology in your toolbox should you decide it is applicable to your efforts. When reviewing attributes noted as a potential organizational strength, the attribute would only remain as part of the SWOT assessment if it supported the attainment or maintenance of a key success factor. On the other hand, a delineated weakness would only remain as part of the SWOT assessment if it detracted from the attainment or maintenance of a key success factor. Organizations will typically have established mission and vision statements prior to the start of a strategic planning effort. Existing mission and/or vision statements may be tweaked at the outset, or new ones may be developed from scratch. Some consultants use SWOT statements juxtaposed to their impact on supporting or detracting from attaining an entity's mission or vision as a screening mechanism. This filter option is not widely employed, but may have its application in some circumstances. Like the procedure for using key success factors, attributes listed as a potential organizational strength are kept as part of the SWOT assessment only if they support the attainment of the entity's mission or vision. Conversely, a noted weakness would only remain as part of the SWOT assessment if it detracted from the attainment of the mission or vision of the enterprise. This concludes the screening mechanisms for statements categorized in the internal environmental assessment of the SWOT analysis. Please now view SWOT Analysis 1.1b to continue with this lesson.